Stage 3. In stage 3, we're going to see if we're getting anywhere. Remember, stage 1, we established a reliable behavior. And in stage 2, we put over top of that reliable behavior a nice, rich, receptive language environment. Now at stage 3, we want to know if they can apply the language that we've been teaching them and identify and categorize the things that we've exposed them to. We want to see that the learner can consistently identify objects, name them through pictures, through actions, identify through intentional gestures that they know the language that we're discussing. We want them to discriminate and actually use their choice-making abilities and put objects into categories. This is a very different learner than we've had before. We want the learners to work with different representation of objects, that they understand that objects can change the way they look and it's still the same one. We also want them to demonstrate that they can keep working even if they make a mistake. So we want the environment that they're working in to tell them why they make a mistake. It's an opportunity to teach if there is something that we have to correct. Here are some IEP objectives. We want them to very consistently make choices, identifying objects on the screen. This is a brand new skill for learners at stage 3. We want them to be consistent, and even though there are distractors on the screen, that they will watch and wait and pick the right one. Let's take a look at the assessment. Because we have learners who are making choices for the first time, their device has to work a little bit differently. So let's take a look at the settings. You'll notice lots of different device choices this time. 2 different kinds of scanning, one where the computer will automatically move a box around all of the distractors and they just click when they see the one they want is in the box. Or they can use 2 switches, one switch to move the box and the other switch to make their choice. Other adaptive device settings that we won't talk about now in the middle of this demonstration, but just so that you know, if we do pick a device, there will be some subsets of decisions that we'll need to make around using that device, how quickly the box might move, for example, or what the box might look like. Perhaps your learner can't see this thin red line, but perhaps could see a thicker line or a different color. You couldn't do that with pencil and paper, but you certainly can do that with technology, which is why we can put a learner with some sort of a challenge. We can put their best foot forward in this kind of an environment. We'll stick with mouse for this demonstration. The prompting is consistent. Once we know what prompting environment works best for that learner, we should stick with it. Gee, there's something new here. There's a reward. Why would there be a reward in the middle of an assessment? Well, why not? I don't especially like the learners to know that it's an assessment. I want them to really look forward to playing these little games. So what will happen is when the learner gets it right, a reward will come up. That will encourage him to keep working. If he doesn't get it right, he won't see the reward, and we're keeping score in the background so we know where we have to do our teaching. There are 2 kinds of rewards here. Again, you see consideration for age appropriateness. At the beginning here in these earlier stages, we'll stick with the child rewards, which are random graphics that you'll see. Later on in the stages, as we mature in our skill set, I'll switch it to the teen adult reward so you can see that one too. Language does happen in a deliberate hierarchy. Again, I refer you back to the research, which we're not talking about today, but just so you know, there's a very deliberate language hierarchical development going on here in these activities. That's why they're shaped in a bit of a pyramid. We can look at whether or not a learner understands the symbolic representation through the acquisition of understanding from photos to drawing to symbols. We'll look at that one in a minute. We can look at, through a series of drawings, their ability to identify objects. We can look at their ability to take those objects and put them in categories. For example, this one is a dog, this one is a cookie, which one is food? And we can also take a look at their ability to use those objects in a functional way. Here is a hat, here is a cookie, which one do you put on your head, which one do you eat? So this is a language hierarchy that would take quite a bit of time to assess a learner through. We're going to take a look at the levels of representation today. An explore button and an assess button. Why are those there? The explore button is here as a practice question. If you've ever delivered any sort of an assessment to a learner, you know that there's a practice question, and we do that so that we're sure that the learner knows what to do. And in this case, it's another opportunity to make sure that the adaptive device or the input device of any type is working properly. We will stick with the assessment activities only for the purpose of this demonstration. We'll stick with animals, and we'll stick with the dog.
Show me the dog.
I know that dog. That's the dog I have at home, and I know his picture.
You showed me the dog.
Notice the text label for early literacy again.
Show me the dog.
Well, gee, now it doesn't look the same, and I'm not so sure which one it is, but it was over here before, so I'll try this one.
Dog. This is the dog.
Even though it
Show
looks
me
different,
the dog.
the computer said that's the one it is, so I guess I'll try that
Show
one.
me the dog. You showed me the dog.
And we got our little reward, and again our text label.
Show me the dog.
Well, now it is not a photo, it is not a drawing, it's a symbol.
Show me the dog.
It was over here before. I'll try this one.
This is the dog.
That's not a dog.
Show me the dog.
This one must be the dog.
This is the dog. Show me the dog.
I'm going to turn my sound down for a minute so I can talk without
Show me
prompt interrupting us. I'd like you to notice the visual prompt only, and it does contain the symbol. If you think that your learner is going to make a visual match and you're not sure he really knows that symbol, remember you can turn off these visual prompts and just make it an auditory prompt. I'll go ahead and turn my sound back on now so that we can finish the activity.
Show me the dog. This is the dog.
Well, I've run out of tries. Let's take a look at what this data will look like. Very complicated report here. Of course, the date and time, the name, what my input method is, all that is there on a report. Let's interpret this one. When the dog was a photo, I knew it on my very first try in only 19 seconds. I was able to finish all of my activities. When the dog was a drawing, it took me 2 tries. I was able to identify it. I had twice the number of prompts, and it took me 36 seconds to find it. But when the dog was a symbol, I had 3 tries. I was not able to identify it. It took me with 6 prompts and 1 minute and 14 seconds to still try to find that dog. I obviously am comfortable with photos and drawings, but I need to work on my symbols. And this tells us exactly where to go in our therapy, our clinical practice, our classroom interventions. We know that children might be consistent with the photo and the drawing, but not the symbol, and that lets us know where we need to work with our augmentative communicator. Again, we can save that data, print this report, communicate at home with parents or therapists or other teachers. When we say we're done, we get the similar navigation buttons that we've seen in other stages try another target, keep the activity, keep the data, change the activity, erase the data, we've saved it, start with another learner. We still have time in our stages period today, or go back and print or save that report. Stage 3.